The story of Israel and Palestine is long, complex, and often fraught with intense emotions and significant historical events. Here is a broad overview of this important narrative. Ancient beginnings to 19th century. The region known today as Israel and Palestine has been a crossroads of culture, religion, and empire for thousands of years. Historically, it is significant to many people, including the Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Jews established ancient kingdoms in the area, which were later conquered by various empires, including the Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans. The Christian and Muslim periods followed, with the region changing hands multiple times during the Crusades. Early 20th century, the Balfour Declaration. By the end of the 19th century, in response to rising anti-Semitism in Europe, the Zionist movement sought to establish a national homeland for the Jews in Palestine. At that time, Palestine was a part of the Ottoman Empire and predominantly inhabited by Arab Muslims and Christians with a small Jewish minority. In 1917, during World War I, the British government issued the Balfour Declaration, expressing support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, while also ensuring that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities. The British Mandate and increasing tensions. Following the war, the League of Nations granted Britain the mandate to govern Palestine. Jewish immigration increased, driven by persecution in Europe and the Nazi genocide during World War II. Tensions escalated between the Jewish and Arab populations, each with national aspirations. The creation of Israel and the Arab-Israeli conflict. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a plan to partition Palestine into Jewish and Arab states. This plan was accepted by Jewish leaders, but rejected by the Arab side, who saw it as a dissection of their land. In 1948, upon the expiration of the British Mandate, Israel declared independence, which led to the first Arab-Israeli War involving neighboring Arab states. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were expelled from what became Israel, and they became refugees. This event is mourned by Palestinians as the Nakba, or catastrophe. Over the decades, several wars and numerous conflicts have occurred, including significant wars in 1967 and 1973. Peace efforts and ongoing conflict. Efforts at peace, including the landmark Oslo Accords in the 1990s, which gave the Palestinians limited self-governance in certain areas, and the 1994 Israel-Jordan Peace Treaty, have shown some promise but have ultimately failed to resolve the major issues. The key disputes include the borders of Israel and a future Palestinian state, the status of Jerusalem, claimed by both as a capital, security concerns, and the right of return for Palestinian refugees. 21st century developments. The 21st century has seen continued violence and political stagnation. Intermittent negotiations have occurred, but political, social, and geographical divisions have deepened. Israel's security concerns and Palestinian aspirations for statehood remain unresolved, with both sides experiencing significant domestic challenges that complicate the conflict. Conclusion. Current situation in Israel and Palestine, 2024. The situation between Israel and Palestine as of early 2024 remains dire, with ongoing conflict and humanitarian crises dominating the region, particularly in Gaza. This has been marked by a series of escalations that have severely affected civilians and infrastructure. Humanitarian crisis. In Gaza, the humanitarian situation is particularly severe. Gazans face widespread famine, with approximately 80% of the population now dependent on humanitarian aid. The Israeli blockade, in place since 2007, has been intensified, severely restricting access to food, water, and medical supplies. The blockade and ongoing military operations have devastated Gaza's infrastructure, with significant damage to homes, hospitals, and schools. Nearly 85% of Gaza's population is internally displaced, searching repeatedly for safety as their living conditions worsen. Civilian casualties and hostilities. The recent conflict has resulted in a substantial number of civilian casualties. More than 23,000 Palestinians have been killed since the hostilities intensified in October 2023, many of whom are women and children. On the Israeli side, there have been significant casualties as well, including over 1,000 deaths due to attacks, with many civilians taken hostage during these incidents. Human Rights Watch. Military actions and human rights concerns. Both sides have engaged in actions that have raised serious human rights concerns. Hamas has launched thousands of rockets into Israel, attacked civilians directly during events, and taken hostages. Israel has responded with intense military operations across Gaza, leading to widespread destruction and significant civilian casualties. Both actions have been criticized internationally, with concerns about violations of international law and potential war crimes. Human Rights Watch, Al Jazeera. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more video like this. International responses. Efforts at the international level include calls for ceasefires and humanitarian interventions. The United Nations and various countries have urged for immediate action to prevent further loss of life and to address the humanitarian needs. There have been proposals for short-term truces to facilitate humanitarian aid delivery and longer-term solutions that advocate for renewed efforts towards a two-state resolution. UN News. In conclusion, the current situation in Israel and Palestine is complex and deeply concerning, with ongoing violence impacting millions of civilians and no clear resolution in sight. The international community continues to seek pathways to mitigate the suffering and work towards a sustainable peace. The story of Israel and Palestine continues to evolve, influenced by regional and global shifts. It remains one of the most enduring and challenging conflicts in the world, requiring sensitive, nuanced approaches from all involved parties and the international community. Understanding this story requires empathy, respect for the narratives of all communities, and a commitment to seeking peaceful and fair solutions.